Alright guys, welcome back to another episode of Human Combat. Today we're actually going to go over some boxing fundamentals. So I just want to touch upon slipping because there's a big viral video going around where Canelo Alvarez actually tied a pool noodle to one of the ropes on the boxing ring, and you just see him kind of like slipping, right? Like you see him with like small movements, and it just became like a very big thing, more because of the name, right? But I want to touch upon a few things. And also I want to show you guys another different video where he's teaching another kid how to slip and how to make the slips actually effective. As you saw in the video, Canelo tells the kid not to use his legs and his shoulders so much. Let's just say we're here and I'm slipping punches, right? And you'll see a lot of trainers actually tell the kids or tell the people that they're training to actually, I know you can't really see my feet here, but the movements become very exaggerated, right? So basically almost like you're bending, which of course, if we're being completely brutally honest, I mean, bending is a defense. I mean, you saw, or you would see, or you still see a lot of boxers, like they'll bend and they'll go into the shoulder, right? More like to close distance and to clinch, but it's not really ideal, especially if you're like at mid-range. It's more kind of like a close range thing where you want to close the range and you want to like kind of like smother your opponent so they don't keep teeing off. But if you're at mid-range or long range, you don't really want to do these big movements. You don't want to make these big movements as you're slipping, just because of the fact that, first of all, although you can't really see my feet, if I exaggerate my movements with my hips, making enemies with two things. First, time and reaction. And of course, I would even implement or put in a distance in that conversation because of the fact that, look, from this position, now I'm in a compromised position where my timing is way off because of the fact that now the distance that I have to cover is longer, and the speed in which I have to travel has to be very, very fast. And although like my opponent, he could easily be a person that's not as quickly as myself, but just because of the fact that I gave him so much time, so much distance to react, maybe as soon as I come up, right, his cross will beat me to it because he has to travel less, and I ultimately have to come from a very like low position, compromised position, and still come up and over while he just necessarily has to throw the straight punch. You see? Also, you gotta take into consideration how big is a fist, bro? Like liver? Yeah, exactly. Like it's not a real, even with a glove, I mean, maybe you add a few inches, right? But ultimately, it's something that you don't need to like really exaggerate, right? Which is kind of like the point he was trying to get across with the kid, that hey, don't slip too deep, because if you slip too deep, it takes too much time, bro. It takes too much time to come up and counter punch. Of course, maybe with like the lower, I guess you could say like the punches that come from a low position and upwards, like uppercuts, or maybe even like hooks to the body, maybe it'd be a little bit more ideal to drop your body weight a little bit, just because you have to change levels to reach towards the body, or from these uppercuts, since they're coming from a lower position and you kind of want to create that really big leverage, then yeah, like from a low position it'd be cool. But if you're at a mid-range, right, so because those are short range punches, but if you're at a mid-range, you want to keep everything really, really short, right? Make sure that every time that you create these movements, they're like that, they're really, 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 really short, because you don't want to make distance, speed, and range and timing your enemy at all. You want to be small and compact so you're able to have the opportunity to slip and counter without wasting so much time, and at the same time without messing too much with the range. Like you'll see in the video, like you'll see the kid, like he uses so much leg movement as he's slipping. He's out of position. Like, I mean, technically from here, I mean, this creates leverage. Yeah. But the thing is, like in practical use, right? Like, or in real timing, or like in real practice, like it makes no sense because of the fact that there's something coming at you. If you're training on the heavy bag, yeah, sure, this is cool because, like, trust me, like you'll be able to slip, and as soon as you come up, like the bag will sound nice. But in theory, right? Like if we're here, we're practicing, right? Boom, again, boom.
Breaking down the cross with two movements. So you gotta come up first, and then
exactly that. So you're basically like
up and that.
Exactly, and that's where you're losing your position, right? Because first of all, like the movement's too deep. Second of all, like your timing is gonna be way off, and your range is gonna suck because of the fact that, like you mentioned, now it's basically 2 steps. So now you're basically covering the distance of coming up and then shooting.
Yeah.
And the other person that's throwing the punch, they're just straight shooting.
Exactly. Yeah. So unless he's quicker than me, the 1 step, me taking 1 step, just 1 step is gonna be always gonna win. Unless he's some freak athlete, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Or really
fast. But even then, most of the time, like the guy that has to travel shorter range will beat you to the punch. So yeah, that's basically it. This is actually the first part. For the second part, I'm gonna show you guys a few different drills in which you guys could actually drill this type of movement. So I'm gonna, in a way, I mean, not fully emulate, right? Because I don't really have that much, you know, head movement, or I'm not as skilled as Canelo. But I'm gonna show you guys a way in which you guys could actually emulate some of those patterns that he teaches the kid and some of the patterns that he actually implemented in his drill where he's training by himself with a partner.